Jack Sports TV. My name is Damian Bell. This is Pat Donovan, and we are here to talk the Rays. You see the smile on our faces when we talk the Rays now? 5 or 6 years ago when people would talk to Rays, and I'm like, oh, the devil Rays. But hey, it's big business right now. This is one of the best teams in baseball, and boy, did they have a good week this week.
A hell of a week, a historic week. I'll tell you what, the Rays all season long have kind of struggled at home while they've been great on the road. They're 15 games above 500, 33 and 18 on the road. But at home all year, it's been a little struggle here, a little struggle there, never putting consistent wins together. But I'll tell you what, the Rays now on a 6-game winning streak, including the last 4 at home against the Detroit Tigers, who, let's not forget, were right there in that wild card race. When Detroit came in, they were right there, and if they had won this series, they'd be really creeping up on the Rays. But instead the Rays go out and sweep them. The lead now 12 games in the wild card race over Detroit. Minnesota still 7 back. The Red Sox still 5 behind, of course, depending on what happens tonight. But the big story, the Rays, a game and a half now behind the New York Yankees for first place in the AL East. Depending on what happens with the Yankees tonight, it'll either be a game or it'll be 2 games when the Yankees come in to Tropicana Field tomorrow night. But again, the big story of the week, historic. Matt freaking Garza, unbelievable. The kid threw 101 fastballs out of 120 pitches. You don't see that. You just don't see that.
The amazing thing about that game, it was on national TV, and you know, when you say the Rays are on national TV, wow, you turn the game on and you're watching it and you don't even realize you got a no-hitter working here, because you know the analysts on TV, they can't wait to tell you, hey, this guy's twirling the gem. There's a no-hitter. Even ESPN, they'll do the toss twos. And it's like they didn't realize it until late 8th inning. It's like, hey, this dude hasn't given up a hit. Let's figure out what's happening. And boom, you got your magic right there. It was so anticlimactic. It's like they almost had to tell Matt, yeah, you just threw a no-hitter. And it's good to see the Rays on the good side of a no-hitter for a change, because you got really nervous when you saw them get no-hit in 2 different games this year. Now, to be on the other side of it, the offense puts the game away early. Garza didn't have to go out there and pitch the perfect game, although he came close to doing it. If you chronicle the history of the Rays, you got to circle this whole week on that calendar, because this has to be one of the best weeks ever to be involved with the Rays. I mean, to come out of the All-Star break, have a long homestand, the longest you've ever had, start off winning, start off with pitching coming through one night with 1 no-hitter, offense coming through the next night with a comeback win, the defense coming through the following night in a key game, and now a prime series. We can say now Yankees-Red Sox isn't the series that baseball is built on. We can just about say it's Yankees-Rays now.
It certainly is this season. It is the Yankees and Rays. And it's going to be one hell of a series this weekend. I can't wait to see. You know, I said a little bit nervous when you look at the schedule and you see that Jeff Neiman nor David Price will be in there against the Yankees, because, of course, they just pitched the last couple of days. David Price very successful today. Neiman not really himself yesterday. Gave up 4 runs. Did strike out a couple of batters, but it wasn't a terrible game. Aside from the 2 home runs, Jeff Neiman wasn't bad. He just wasn't the Jeff Neiman that we're getting used to. But you're right, it's been a great week. It's been an unbelievable week. And this homestand, you know, you said it, it's the biggest homestand of the season. And it might be not just the longest, it's the longest, but it might not just be the longest, it might be the biggest. When you look at this homestand, they had the first 4 games against the Detroit Tigers, like I just mentioned, just behind the Rays in the wild card, or they were until the sweep happened. And then the Yankees come into town, of course, just ahead of the Rays for first place in the American League East. And then don't forget, after the Yankees leave town, in comes the Minnesota Twins, who again, like I just said, 7 games behind the Rays in that wild card position. So it's an important homestand. It's off to a great start. It's going to be really fun this weekend to see the Yankees come into town, to see some sellouts, hopefully. And please, for the love of God, let me hear more Rays fans in that building than Yankee fans. Let's not see A-Rod hit number 600. Let's see the Rays come out of this weekend, as I called them when we talked about the Rays about a month ago, the first place Tampa Bay Rays. Let's hope we're saying that again at the end of this weekend.
Well, I'll say this about the Rays. With the week that they're having so far, just go back to last week when the big story about the Rays, and it's great that every single week there's a big story about the Rays. The big story last week was they can't win in Cleveland. They haven't won in Cleveland in so long.
18 games, though. Can you believe that?
Well, it happens. You know, it's Cleveland. But to finish that series, winning 2 decisive games against the Indians, and then come home and just start kicking tail the way they have, you know this team is on their way. And then the other big thing is, even though Price won't face the Yankees this weekend, you know, I really don't want to see the Rays' #1 and #2 starters go against the Yankees. We know what they're supposed to do against the prime teams. I want to see what the back of the pitching rotation can do with this team, because I know if the 3, 4, and 5 guys can hold their own against the Yanks offense, then I know the top end of the pitching staff should come through as well, because I want to see the Rays tool their staff to win a short series right now. They know they're in prime position for the wild card spot or even winning the division. So you got to get your pitching staff right to win that short series, whether it's just using your top 2 pitchers and the 3, 4, and 5 just get in where they do, or just the confidence of knowing that no matter who you put out on that mound, you're going to get 5 to 6 strong innings, and then you just leave it up to your bullpen. And once again, with that offense, once they ever get out of that team-wide slump where everybody's around 250 or so, you know big things are going to happen with the Rays.
And isn't it interesting that you just referred to Matt Garza and James Shields as the back end of the rotation? And look, I don't care where guys started after the All-Star break. I don't care where guys were at the beginning of the season. James Shields was called the ace of the staff. But we know that's not the case. We know if the playoffs start tomorrow, the first guy we're going to see on the mound is David Price, and then we're going to see Jeff Neiman. So these are the guys that were middle to end of the rotation during the season. But if the playoffs start today, they're the front end of the rotation, because these 2 young pitchers have really stepped up and become phenoms and they're doing the things that we expected out of David Price and Jeff Neiman a year ago. Jeff Neiman a very good year a year ago, but matching that, if not bettering that this year. David Price all over the place a year ago, just won his 14th game of the year today. More wins, or as many wins as any pitcher in the history of Rays baseball. So it's amazing to see that the guys in Matt Garza, who just threw a no-hitter, and James Shields, who was the ace, these are the guys we're talking about as the back end of that rotation, because the front end is David Price and it's Jeff Neiman, and these guys just look so good. But again, this homestand is huge for this team. It's going to be interesting what happens by Saturday's trade deadline. Do the Rays go out and make a move? We'll have to talk about that and everything else when we come back. Of course, if you go to one of these Rays games this weekend, go! Don't let the Yankees fans, look it, every time I hear "Let's go Yankees," I better hear that boo drown out the crowd. I don't want to hear it again. And then take the damn ticket stub and get over to the Vegas Showgirls. You get in for free. How do you beat that? We'll be back. Damian Bell and Pat Donovan here on Jack Sports TV.